In a previous video, I showed you how to remove this bumper, and then I re-cleared the headlights. In this episode, we're going to prep the bumper for paint, and then paint it and reinstall it. I will say the nice thing about this bumper compared to like the bumper on that Civic over there is that you don't have to mask all these recessed areas off to keep them black. They actually pop out and remove. You can see, that way you don't have to worry about overspray on these plastic pieces. So the centerpiece also, that'll unscrew and pop out, and your fog lights will pop out. And you can even pop out the area around the fog light. You can see this is all a separate piece here if you really want to paint down into the cracks and everything. So I think I'll do that and clean that and get all the dirt out of there as well. More rusty bolts. GB Blaster is your best friend. I'm taking off these bolts along the bottom here so that I can remove this little plastic front lip here. Just that's one less thing I have to mask off when I'm painting the bumper, and I'll be able just to spray away and not worry about getting anything in that I shouldn't. So I'm on the last one here. This is probably the best way I found to do it, is you get some vice grips and clamp down on the square side, then come around back here and loosen with your ratchet. And so far I haven't had any of these break on me. And there you go. Next, just squeeze these little clips and push them through. And the lip is off. All right, I've got this bumper completely stripped down to only the bare plastic pieces that I'm gonna paint. So, you know, take a look. You see the reflection there, just how nasty this surface is. This is from about 80,000 miles, 70 or 80,000 miles on the highway in about 3 years. That's what that gets you. Look at that. So next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this outside, mix a bucket of soap and scrub it really good with a nice stiff sponge, because I got bug guts on there. And while I'm at it, I'm gonna wash the inside as well, because I've got some years of dirt built up in there. I've got GB Blaster, which is, you know, a grease basically. You don't want that anywhere near where you're gonna be painting, let alone all this dust and stuff in there. So I'm gonna clean this thing as best as I can. I'm gonna start with a stiff sponge. All right, I've set these out in the sun to dry for a while. Now I'm gonna bring them in, wipe them down one last time, and start scuffing them up. Starting off with some 400 grit sandpaper, a soft, flexible sanding sponge, and a bucket of water. And I'm getting some water on the paper and sanding back and forth in a crosshatch pattern. And you can see I'm getting this white residue, and that's actually some of the clear coat that I'm sanding past. And what I'm going to do is sand down past all the imperfections until I'm smooth. You see all these areas where I'm sanding, where you can see all those little white dots. Those are actually stone chips, and the white is where the dust from the clear coat that I'm sanding down has collected. So I can either keep sanding and make the surface smooth, or go back in and fill every one of those little dots. So I'm gonna keep sanding a little bit farther down. And as long as you're seeing the white dust, that means you're going through clear coat. If you get to see some black dust, or whatever color your paint is, that's when you're down to the paint, and you want to start to be careful so you don't sand down all the way to the bare plastic. Unless you plan on priming the bumper as well. Then you can go ahead and sand as far as you want. I've been sanding at this for a while now, and you can see here I've sanded through the clear, how it's kind of dark through. You can see the actual black paint. And then I've gone through the black paint in a few spots down to the original primer. Now, I still have a lot of nicks that even go through, all the way through the primer. And some, got a low spot there. You can see where I didn't scratch up the surface. And same here, we got some really big chips that go all the way down to the plastic. So I'm gonna take some time to scuff those areas up and apply some filler. There's another one right there. Anywhere that's still shiny is somewhere that it didn't get all the way smooth. So that's a recessed area, which is going to require some filling. There's another one right there. And I'm also going to fill in some of these scratches in the bottom too. Notice on the edges, you're more likely to sand through. So be careful around the edges. Like I said, if you're trying not to have to prime the whole bumper again, you don't want to sand all the way past the original primer down to the plastic. I did plan on priming this bumper because I know that it has been repaired before at some point over here. So I already have the primer ready to go, so it's not a problem for me. I didn't get any video on mixing or applying the filler, but there's plenty of videos on YouTube on how to do that. I have wiped my bumper down with some degreaser and made sure that it's completely dry, clean. You know, even after you wash it, you're still going to get some extra dirt off with that degreaser. So now it is ready for priming. And notice I've got some paper, plastic, and cardboard on the floor, and covered up the car over there. And I've got a good cross breeze coming from that door out to that door, so there should be minimal overspray. There are much better painters out there who can give you better advice than I can, but I will say that people often go too heavy on the coats. There's no reason to go too heavy. That's how you're going to get runs or drips or sags. So keep the coats light. After you get a few coats down, then you can go a little bit heavier and get some buildup, which I did build a lot on this because I had so many little tiny nicks left in the finish that I wasn't able to sand past. Other than that, just follow the directions of your product and try and have a clean workspace so you don't get any dust in your finish. Alright, that is 3 wet coats of primer. I'm going to let this dry and then hit it with a quick wet sand just to knock down any orange peel, and we'll see how they look for color. So I let the bumper dry overnight, and then the next day I brought it outside where it had some good light from the sun, and I began to sand. Now you can see where I'm sanding, it's a much lighter gray. That is what you want. Everywhere where it's the darker, shinier gray, that's a low spot. So in the end, your goal is to get this whole thing a uniform, scuffed up light gray. And that's what's going to get you a smooth paint job and really cut down on any orange peel. And because I had so much primer in my bumper, I started with some 320 grit. Then I wet sanded with 400, and then after that, I wet sanded with 600. 600 grit's going to allow the paint to bite to the bumper, but at the same time, the scratches aren't big enough to show through the paint. Back in the garage, got the bumper ready to do some painting, and here is where my battery dies. So the next thing you're going to see is a finished bumper. Sorry to not get any footage of the paint going down, but it was getting late in the day and I had to get this bumper painted. Alright, here we are. The next morning I came out and I am now reassembling the grille on the bumper and also the inserts next to the fog lights, and these are the ones that I took off so I wouldn't have to deal with masking or any overspray. And these just snap back into place just like that. Next thing I'm doing here is I'm putting that lower lip on just in the reverse order that I took it off. All you have to do is push these clips straight up and do that evenly across, and then add your bolts. Alright, now it's time to reinstall the fog light covers. And now if you noticed, this is going to go in a little bit tougher than it was to get out, and that's because of 2 reasons. One, the paint's still a little bit tacky, so I'm being very careful. And 2, the finish is actually thicker, so it's a tighter tolerance, because right now I have, in addition to the original paint and clear, I have another coat of primer, another coat of paint, and another coat of clear. So that tolerance is going to be a little bit tighter of a fit than it was, but not too bad. I know, I should have got new screws, but it's just all plastic, so it's not like these are going to get rusted together. Next comes the fog lights, and they're very simple. You just kind of lay them in place, and then they're held together by 3 screws. And here is my brand new fog light next to my old cracked one, and this was really part of the reason that I did this whole project, was to replace the fog light and paint the bumper. Next, there's this huge heavy-duty metal bracket, which I'm not really sure what its purpose is, but it just simply slides into place and then gets tightened down with these hex bolts. The grill snaps back on in the reverse order that I took it off in the bumper removal video, and just make sure these clips are all lined up with the slots and they go right in. I've got the bumper in place, and all I really need to do next is line up all these bolt holes and snap in the sides. Go ahead and put all your screws back in, and then also all the plastic clips you had to take out. Hopefully you didn't break too many of them. When you get under the car, you want to make 100% sure that your bumper is installed below your splash shield, because you don't want to have the splash shield under the bumper, because wind's going to catch that and cause drag, possibly even rip it off. I don't know what would happen, but you see both my fender liner and my splash shield are tucked above the bumper. Next, get all those rusty clips that love to seize up and break, and install those, and then tighten them up along the bottom edge. There you go! The whole car looks so much younger now. A clean front bumper can make a world of difference. Thanks for watching.